You are listening to the Echo Chamber podcast with Konstantin, a podcast so good even Sleepy Joe could stay up and listen. It's very interesting. New information on Crooked Hillary coming soon? People are saying yes, but we'll have to wait and see. And now your host, some are saying the best podcast host ever, actually. Give it up for a great man and a personal friend, a very, very dear friend, Konstantin.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, folks. This is the Echo Chamber, and I'm your host, Konstantin. And today I'll like to introduce you to a special guest of mine. Her name is Melissa. Melissa, tell the world all about you.
All about me, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You just want to get right to it.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so how can one sum themselves up
Mm-hmm.
in a few concise words? But well, I'm Melissa, and thank you so much for having me. By the way, on your show, this is great, and I
Okay.
want to support you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I'm Melissa. I am 35, and I am doing my thing in this world. And I'm not only doing my thing as in like being the best version of myself in the world. I like to think that I'm like taking everybody else that I meet along for the ride, and like hopefully they're being their best selves too, just trying to like inspire greatness in people. So that's what I really want people to know about me, I guess. Like
Okay.
first and foremost is like I want to take everybody on the path to success that I've known in my life. So that's like the core of like I've been thinking about what my core values as a person.
Damn,
And so
core
that's one
values. I
of
haven't
them.
heard that in a long time. All right. Well, actually, here's what I was going to ask you is, why do you think I chose you to join my podcast? Why do you think that is?
I think that from what you had mentioned earlier when
Mm-hmm.
we were talking,
Yes.
it seems that you're interested in the metaphysical or the clairvoyant aspects of my job and like how I use my brain.
Ooh, yeah.
So
All right. So there we go. That's exactly why I got you here. And like, let's go by this. Let's say act like I'm a dumbass and I have no idea what this is about. Explain to you us and the millions of people that are going to be listening what is this job that you have that's so special.
yeah, so this job that I have that is so special is not just a job. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it is my life. Like this is what I've dedicated my life to, my human life. And it's not something that I signed up for one day. I didn't decide that I was gonna have these abilities because that's what they are. It's a gift. A lot of people close to me say like I'm like, how do I tell people about how I use my mind? And they're like, you just need to keep it very simple. Tell people that you are somebody that can look at a situation and you can see the truth. Like you illuminate. Like if the room was dark, you just turn on the light and you say, this is how it is. It's so that's what I'm trying to do with my brain. And since I was young, I'm 35 now, but whenever I was in my early 20s, I
Okay.
was called, by a higher power. So
A higher
that's how
power.
I started
That's
my path.
interesting. What do you mean higher power? So when we say higher power, because as I know, higher power is something that comes from God. Is that what we're talking about?
I believe so, yes. I did start this path as far as documenting my abilities as psychic abilities, psychic phenomena,
Mm-hmm.
from a skeptic standpoint, because I was raised Catholic and went to Catholic school for like 13 years, and
Wow.
I thought that that was all that spirituality was. And it's a beautiful thing to experience for people. I respect religion, but for myself, I got away from religion, like organized religion, and now I seem to be like a non-denominational type of individual. So I believe that God resides in all people. So I believe that the higher power is like the higher order, the creator, like the divine.
So
But I do
why do
believe
you think
personally
that he
that
chose you
it's one
then,
God.
or he or she? Let's just say God is he, just for the for the sake of it. I don't know what God is, but let's just
Mhm.
say that. Why do you think he
Sure.
chose you?
That's what I'd like to know.
Yeah, that's
um,
interesting, right? Because you
That's
you
a very
know,
good
yeah,
question.
because
That's a very good
there's
question.
billions of people, and you live in. Where did you grow up? And I would say like in the Midwest. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. The
You're
Midwest
you're a
area.
Midwest girl, and you have these, I would say, like superhero like powers that I don't have.
But you do. You could do it if you wanted, I bet.
Okay,
Do you
well,
care about people? In your
I
heart, do you care about people first? That's what I gotta ask you to see if you could be a
I do
superhero.
actually, and actually, here's a good example. Like today, I was at Home Depot. This guy's back. He drove a, I think it was a CRV, and he had plants. His bag all exposed. His hatchback was open. Nobody cared to stop him. I was the only one to chase him down and help and stop him from all his shit dropping. So yeah, I would say I do care about people, and that's one little anecdote for you.
Hmm. So in my research, just trying to understand not only my own experience of life and
Hmm.
my own like coming into my own gifts as a person, like every person has gifts. Every person has something special about them. I truly believe that. So it's all about really like being in alignment with that and like deciding like yes, I am worthy of like what I am like capable of receiving. And it doesn't matter what you believe. If you can get into that frame of mind, that's where it starts, in my opinion.
But why is it only for murders? Why can you use it for anything else? Like, can I go and pay you $2,000 right now and
I'm
say,
sorry,
hey,
laughing.
this guy just robbed my shit. I'll give you two bands right now if you can find who it is, and then here's what I'll help you solve another cold case because that's me gonna kill him. Was that? Can you do that?
Well, I at this point I have not taken money for this. I feel like if I were to be recognized through my research, because that's what it is at this point,
Mm-hmm.
it's research on behalf of mankind, really, of how to tap into this and use this for the betterment of people, whether they use it for murders or like there's so many types of people that we don't want in our society or that we want to identify, right?
That's good.
We want to take back our power as people. So when you're able to do this, I would say that it's just it's a double edged sword, of course,
Wow. So you
but it's
don't.
interesting.
So there's no really benefit to you. You're just doing it for the good grace of humankind. Is this correct?
Yeah, there's no benefit to me at this point. I feel like if I were to, I always told myself that if I were to continue to do this work for free and I made a name for myself, then whoever's got the money is going to pay me, whether it be the community, it comes from the community or an agency or whatever, right? People get paid to do their thing. So we know that. And that's sort of what I'm hoping to align with. But at this point, I think I've gotten to the point I'm proving myself. So I feel really good about talking to people and the public about it, which is a big step for me. I've never done anything like this that wasn't sort of in a humorous way where we just like
Okay.
had an episode where we just joked around or something.
All
So I
right.
appreciate your yeah, what you're doing.
All right. So okay, let's say this. A ballpark. You don't have to go to any details. How many murders would you say you solved, or like helped
Sure.
solve? Let's go there.
Sure. And when you say solve, I just want to be clear
Mm-hmm.
that oftentimes, I'm providing information to the families, and then therefore they tell law enforcement, and so they have to like look into the stuff. So before I started doing actual like reports that I create, so I create physical reports. They're usually I keep them under, depending on the case, 10 to 20 pages is what they end up being. And sometimes I'll decode. There's a lot to the process, but I just want to make sure that I'm answering your question before
No,
I
no, no. You're
go down
actually
that
you're
rabbit
you're.
hole.
I get it. So basically, what's going on is you're not really working with the police department. You're kind of like a third party. Somebody hires a company that you come in, try to get ta- information to the family, and you hope that they will give it to the police and maybe they investigate more. Is that what I'm getting?
Yes, because the family is ultimately that's who I'm doing this for, and I love to help like the DA and the police and whoever, because people need to be recognized for the hard work that they're doing. And I'm really about reforming relationships between people in power. We'll just say that. We'll just lump them into that. And then, civilians, because the civilians are this country and this world, right? So to me, there's solutions. Like, there's always solutions, and we don't need to, like, go too hard into that on this one. But that is, like, my philosophy on this. So I'm trying to build trust by also giving these people what they need
Mm-hmm.
that are like enforcement officials, or all those types, and I respect what they're doing, and I want them to know that also that people out here can do this, and we can hold people accountable. So maybe it is time to just get it straight, right?
Okay.
Ideally, I would hope for a better world.
All right. And where did you
So
pick up all this stuff? Like, is this something you go to the dark web, or is this something that you can go to the library at?
yeah, I got sold a life on the dark web.
Yeah.
And I inherited this body. No, I'm just kidding. But so I don't even know where to start, but that was a long path of somebody that hasn't lived many different lives in one, I feel, and I've had a dynamic life.
Uh huh.
I've experienced a lot and a lot of pain, and when you have a dynamic life, and like so many great people do, you I don't know, you can just do great things if you really learn how to transform your experiences. And so that's where it started for me, was I made that decision that it was like it was already made for me. Like I just have to like say that I didn't really get a choice. I was chosen by a higher power, and I say that because I know that's where this comes from.
Do you
This
believe in
doesn't come from me. I'm
archangels?
not special. Yes, I do.
Okay, so
Yes, I
you
do.
so you believe in somewhat of the Abrahamic religion, is this correct? Of like a Christian God or a Muslim God, is this correct?
Yeah, so I think I believe in one God, and I believe that God has influenced everyone. It's just culturally different, religion and all the things that form, caused to form that. There's a lot to it, obviously. I'm sure you know, but ultimately I just believe that God like resonates in us all, and that when people pass,
Mm-hmm.
they go into another dimensional form and they
Ooh,
live
okay.
on. Their consciousness never dies. So that's where you get these virtues of justice and all these things, and that love never dies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe that. I believe that's why I can do what I can do, because not only do I love these families, and
Yeah.
I care about the spirit of the person and their life. It's like I see that they're still just as alive as they ever were here. And I that gives me hope, that there's a great purpose in our life.
I was actually watching this documentary on YouTube. It was very fascinating because it basically describes that every human, every living being has this electromagnetic force, and like the reason why people are sick or like they feel bad is because their electromagnetic field is somehow altered. Now the way they figure this out is because, let's say this, okay, you have an electrical line, right? As you know today, you thought to yourself, in that electrical line from point A to point B, all that electrical flow is going into that wire. Would you say so?
Yes, I believe that.
Yeah, but
Yes.
what they found out is that energy that you get when you power your light is not in that copper wire, but it's outside. So there's this a magnetic field that you don't see that's more powerful than you think. That's power. That, like, for example, when your heartbeat has this electromagnetic field. So where I'm getting at is that, do you think you are able to somehow uh, hold that power that we can't?
So what I'd like to think that I'm doing, because I guess there is a label for what I'm doing, they call it remote viewing. Now there's a long history of remote
Are
viewing
we talking about
within,
like
the
Zoom?
CIA. That Yeah, yes, and in a way it's like whenever I go into different states of consciousness. So it really, really depends on my intent. If I want to keep it light and I just want to take a look at, I practice what's called psychometry. So it's the exact thing that you're talking about, that energy resonates within objects and people. and it lives on even after like that person doesn't own it anymore, right? Like a ring or
Yeah.
something. Like if like someone is to pass, right, and they have a ring on, and maybe their traumatic imprint of the energy in their death was like terror, or you think about murder, we're talking about like people that disappear. I mean, like I work right now, I'm been fortunate to work with some great organizations, but one right now is I'm working with missing people. We're looking at cold cases
Ooh.
as well as people right now that are missing and we don't know where they are. And sometimes it's not murder, sometimes it's just an accident or whatever, but it's all about just that family really knowing the truth. And I want to go back to what you talked about earlier about how many have I solved, right?
Yeah.
um that I know that we've located evidence or unfortunately a deceased person, like a body. It has happened now, I believe I'm at 8 or 9 times. And I formulate a lot of relationships with these people because I love them. Like I really do. They become like my family, and I know that sounds
In the
like
state of
cliche
Colorado?
or something. Or what's that?
In the state of Colorado?
So, no. So this is nationwide.
Whoa, okay, wow.
I do this all from home because when you're practicing psychometry, you can look at a photo. So, it started in
Oh, I see what it is.
2013.
Yeah.
I started to document the psychic readings because so I was reading strangers on the internet from Facebook groups, and I'd have them only send their photo. So once I realized I could do that, I became a profiling extraordinaire. I mean, not to toot my horn, I know I'm good at what I do. Like, I want to say that competence is very important for the skill. You have to know because people will try to rattle you, especially criminals. Like, we're talking about darkness that lives within people, and it infiltrates the energy forces. And so that's why I can feel it. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you can train your brain and you can tune it in really to anything you want. So for me, the challenge of starting my career as a person in this research of life, right? Life research, I had to start with the worst of the worst because that's who I needed to identify. It's very important for us to know, like, who we're fucking with, so to speak. Pardon my language, but
Can you pick up
you
vibes
have
really
to
well?
know.
Like, let's say, like when I say pick up vibes, I remember when I did probably like acid like a couple times and mushroom a couple times, and for some reason that shit made you pick up vibes like no other. Like I could sense someone's frustration, anger from a mile away. Now, is that something that you have just right there constantly?
So, so yes, it was actually a challenge for me, because I am very sensitive. We can just use that word, I guess.
Uh huh.
I find myself using that often, but it's just the most relatable word or whatever. But I can if I choose to. I feel like my brain is like always ready to go. But I am able to be fully present in my experiences because I have an agreement with angels. Like that's what I believe. Like you were talking about earlier, like
Really?
if anything, it's like I believe in Christ consciousness, but not necessarily the organized religion aspects, just because of the history. But I also respect it. So it's very much like I don't want to ever insult or turn away anyone or what works for them, because if that's their experience and it makes their life better, whatever. But I'm very accepting of whoever, even atheists. I think atheists are some of the best people. They are some of the most highly intelligent people, and I've seen
What's
atheists
their
become
problem?
believers, and I've seen believers lose their faith. What?
Yeah, let's go to
What's that?
atheism. What's their problem? Okay, what's their deal? Atheism.
Mhm.
Okay, what do you think their deal is?
What's the deal with you
Yeah,
atheists?
yeah. What's the
Why you
deal?
gotta be such high level thinkers?
I
You
know,
got all
but
your
the thing is,
questions.
like, it's like, come on, like, let's we kind of like see like once you go to a certain level of like thinking of like okay about the universe and all stuff, you kind of just accept okay there has to be a god, right? Like it, like for example,
Sure.
me, I personally don't believe in the Abraham God, but I believe there's a God.
Mhm.
Just I don't believe in the Christian God. Like I believe yeah
Sure.
Jesus existed, but I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that he's the son of God because he ain't.
Well, you can't talk to him, right? I mean, I guess that might be hard to build trust with, like, the invisible man in the sky. I get that whole idea too,
Well,
you know?
I'm more in tune with like the science and like, for example, like I just believe that we're just all just carbon, and that's it. We're just a body of carbon. Like, are we special? I don't know if we really are. And I have discussed this like in my previous episode with Ray, which I would love you to. That'd be a great debate, you and Ray, because Ray's a pastor and he knows the Bible like that. And anyways,
Oh, I love that.
yeah. So, and I always, I say to him, I say, Ray, like, I don't think we're special at all as human beings. I think we're like, the only thing that really that is the difference between us and, I don't know, a monkey really is because we're able to know the difference in time. Like, monkeys, they could still communicate between each other. They live in a tribe, but they don't have any consequence of tomorrow. So they don't do shit like think of responsibilities and shit. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I understand that perspective, and it's something to be appreciated because it's a very logical science. I'm a science person too. I
Mm-hmm.
call myself a scientist, but I have
Yeah.
no degree. But
Right.
I have that experience, and I know how, like, I understand all of that, the
But I am
method
open to
developing a
what
scientific.
you do. That's the thing. That's the thing. I am open to what you
Sure,
do.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's all that it takes for magic to take place, in my opinion. Or as you say, like special powers or abilities or whatever. I mean, I just I hate the labels of it because it's so easy for somebody to hear one thing and assume something. But even in this context, like I can't be worried that the world will think the worst of somebody like me because
Yeah.
I know I show my heart in everything I do, and that's like what I would encourage all people to do. So even if your viewpoint doesn't align with the mainstream, just be you, like, but be respectful. And that you seem to do that. I really like that about
Do you
you.
think you would have been burned alive during the Salem witch trials if you were to go back in
Oh,
that time?
definitely.
What?
Sure.
You think?
Transport me. I mean, I'm sure if there were past lives, you know how like everybody loves to say that, especially in Colorado, like, in my past life, man, I was tortured. And I hear that a lot in these groups, and just
Really?
in
I never heard.
society in general. And
Honestly, if I heard that, I would tell that person to leave me alone. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, but
gotta keep an open mind. But ultimately, yes. So if reincarnation is real and
no,
past
yeah.
lives were a thing, I'm sure I was burned to a stake a few times, because I think that like souls evolve, like if that's a
Yeah,
scientific thing, and
yeah,
what gave us life is really just an evolution of some sort, perhaps, then we would evolve as souls, right? I mean, I would hope that's how we see such advancements, and or else it wouldn't work that way, would it?
yeah. Do you
So
believe
maybe
in
there's
this?
some mystical form.
Do you believe in this theory that apparently what was going on when you die, you weigh certain grams less when you die, and they think that's the soul
Oh, sure.
living. So do you believe in that theory?
Is it 21 grams, they
Yes,
say?
there we go. 21 grams. Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah,
21
21 grams.
grams. Yeah, I need to see. Yeah, what's the?
21.
That's such a weird. Do you believe in that really though? 21 grams. Like,
Truly, I do.
you
Yes,
think
I
we
do
you think
believe
you think
in.
we weigh 21 grams or so?
Well, I don't know about the weight aspect, but yeah, maybe there really is something to that. I mean, I think that there is a reason why so many high operating, like high level, upper like operating system, like people that operate, in a way of like what do they call them? High processors, but just the great minds of the world. I think that
Okay.
those people were in tune with whether they were great scientists or whatever. Like I think of just so many people come to mind, but it's just like there have been people that through their whole life they explored these very things that we're talking about, and more people need these conversations to happen. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do actually. I love these conversations, but I was thinking of one question, and that's to just help the audience. What is one movie they could look up right now to kind of help them understand what you do? Is there any movies that's like that right now, or ever?
I'm just thinking of like the Twilight Zone. You ever checked out that one? No. So
I like
I
the
don't
Twilight Zone.
really
Yeah, which
know
one?
because people ask the whole damn series. No. I don't know. I always thought my life was like that British TV show, the 1960s,
Remember
60s
Bones? Was it?
Brothers.
Isn't
No.
is it Bones or who was it? What was it? That one, that guy that he's like he's sick, but he solves cases. What's his name? He was pretty popular.
My friend's whispering, House?
House, that's right. Remember House? Would that be
Oh,
one?
so he's like an intuitive kind of like doctor?
Yeah.
Is that like what you're talking about? I don't really watch much TV, so there's some stuff I watch, but I don't really watch anything like related to what I do because like nothing has really influenced me like becoming this, right?
Hmm.
I did see some like psychic investigator shows one time and I thought that was cool. And that's kind of what led me to see if I could remote view. And a few friends of mine pushed me in that
So,
direction, but
do you wait? Do you not keep up with like the pop culture and everything that goes on, or do you?
no, I don't. I'm pretty disconnected from that. I like to
Oh,
stay like au naturel and like I mean I am aware of the media to a degree, but not,
you should
you
though
know.
because it will help you. And here's why I think you should do it. Let's say, for example, if there's these new shoes that came out. Let's say the Jordan 4000s, and and somebody gets killed and he's in Jordan 4000s. You're not gonna know he's in Jordan 4000s because you have no idea.
I'm laughing at your Jordan 4000 joke, but
Because
like, well, if the Jordan 4000s are what the spirit says I need to identify, I'm gonna know.
oh,
They're gonna say Jordan 4000s, and I'm
you
gonna
think
fucking
do you
know
think
that.
they'll
Like, yeah.
know? Do you think they'll know what's up in the trend? Or okay,
Well,
yeah,
hell yeah, they're all knowing.
I don't know.
Okay, at this point, I do believe the afterlife life exists. Okay, like I'm a
Yeah.
scientist, but I can say without
Well,
a shred of a doubt, in my
oh my
opinion,
god, if
after
they
what
know
I've seen
today's
and
trends,
experienced.
they're probably laughing at us right now. Jesus. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, the angels are too,
They
and the
they
devil.
have to, like, yeah,
If it
anyways.
all exists, right?
Um this has actually been great. I don't know if you could do this, but is there any way you can verbally go through a session, or is it even possible? Like, say for example, I don't think we could do that, huh? Where you like kind of like go step by step on what goes through one session, how you tell a family. Is that hard to do? Would or is that too much?
So, depending on I've worked in many different fashions, like volunteering myself.
Uh huh.
Sometimes earlier in my career I would reach out to specific families, but then I stopped doing that. I got with organizations and I kind of let them guide me toward the cases. But ultimately, it's I'm not too sure how to answer some of these questions because it takes sometimes so much time has to pass before we see the truth revealed, much like anything great in life. And sometimes we get the evidence right away. Like that day, they'll go recover the body, right? One time I had a two off. I had two cases in one. Actually, it happened twice. I solved two cases, and I'm not brag, but it did feel good. Okay, we all get
Oh,
excited
you
about
got
what
a
we're
two for
doing, and
one? Fuck! Look
sometimes
at
like I've
you!
gotten to show off at a degree that is great.
Wow,
It's
that's
good to
great.
do it because I want to inspire greatness. But I'll tell them this is where they are, and then I'm always a mile off. So everyone that's listening that knows me, that has watched me do this, you guys know I hate that mile, but at least that's all they have to walk to
Well,
find
I'm
me.
happy
So
that you got to buy one get one free. So it's that's crazy that happens. And do they call you?
yeah, one free.
What?
I'm sorry, you're pretty funny. A
Oh,
buy one get one free. Come on.
yeah. So do they call you like what when it's been solved? When do they call you? Like, let's say a body has been received. How long would it take to you get that call? Like, hey, Melissa, good shit on that, man.
Well, now that I work with an organization, I do have like people that are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get permission to plug her on this, but maybe in the future I would love to plug this woman who's given me an opportunity to provide a unique service in a network of like investigators that is the largest network of private investigators in the country, some of the bravest people, and we're in coordination with local law enforcement and federal, and we're really just trying to like what we believe is that every person is someone's child, and even if you don't believe in God, you should care about that, and every person matters. So to think that somebody's life has no value because maybe what they were doing for a living or whatever, like every person matters. So
Mm-hmm.
we want to instill that in people. And I really love that I get to get an update. Just being told you did a good job is really all that matters. Like there's times like I like to be in the background. I like to be like the secret weapon
Okay.
because,
Oh, the secret
silent
weapon.
movement.
Fuck.
Yeah. Silent movement's everything.
You know what, serial killers, watch out because Melissa is here. But that's all the time we have here. This has been great. I hope we could, come again and maybe talk to our, our special guest Ray, which will release the part 2 shortly. All right, thank you so much.
Thank